Murti Bheda Vivagini Vyoma Vasyaptadishya Dakshina Om Shanti 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 Shri Guru Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. So we were doing the second sutra, the third sutra of the third chapter, Tritiya Unimesha. And you see, after that, the sadhana aspect will start. Now we are being taught about how we get trapped in samsara, how we are in problem, what is the source of our misery. And then we will go into the sadhana aspect, how to now return to our Swarupa. So if you remember, the sutra was Kaladinam Tattvanam Aviveko Maya. Jnanam Bandhaha. It starts there, right? So Jnana, that means aparipakva jnana, inappropriate knowledge, or you can call it inadequate knowledge, or something which is not in true sense of the term, it's not in the true sense, it's not reflecting. That is the issue. So you know something, you have ayathartha jnana, and therefore you have to ensure that could we just mute everyone? Okay, everyone is muted. That's good. There's no sound. So, in order to get rid of this, we are trying to make sense of. We already know Jnanam Bandhaha. We have had a long discussion on it. Now we are going to the third sutra where there is a little more clarification on how this ajnana, how this ignorance or inappropriate understanding takes birth in us. If that is the root of all our problems, when we are not in a position to do something or something wrong happens, the key thing that we try to analyze or we try to understand is why that would happen. Why?
Swamiji, kindly unmute.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, so I had muted myself instead of muting. Yeah, I think there was some noise. That's why I had tried to. Yeah, I think there was. Um, okay. Okay, thank you. So, the whole issue is how we land up in a situation where we do not have appropriate understanding about who we are, why do we make mistakes, why do we get trapped in samsara. That is the question. And he's saying it starts with an incorrect analysis because of this maya, this deluding force. This deluding force or power of the Supreme Lord Shiva, which is actually he is having these five Shaktis, and these five Shaktis become five Kanchukas or veils of Maya at a lower level, right? So, what is a positive becomes a negative. The same energy which can liberate you can bind you. So, everything is paradoxical. Everything is kind of a double-edged sword here. You have to understand it. There's, for example, even in Vedanta, we again and again hear Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. The mind is the cause of our liberation, is the cause of our bondage. this Maya Tattva, how it blinds us. It is only a slightly inverted appearance of the supreme energy, Swatantra Shakti of Lord Shiva. But it deludes us. Why should it delude us, and what it means? What is that Maya thing? Is it some kind of an independent energy or something because of which you are trapped? Is it a kind of evil force walking around trying to trouble us? He's explaining Kaladinam Tattvanam Aviveko Maya. Look here, there's nothing which exists independently. It is just a kind of a twist in the way we are thinking about truth and reality. And that twist is that Kaladinam, all the kalas, all the forces and the tattvas are there. There are kalas and there are tattvas. Okay. So kala, tattva, bhuvana, and so all this part of the sadhatvas, we have discussed that earlier. So he's saying inability to understand what is what. Of course, they're using the jargon of Kashmiri Saivism. He's saying that itself is Maya. Essentially, remember the word, the most important word here is aviveka. Inability to discriminate, inability to dissociate the truth from the falsehood. So in that context, we were doing the introductory commentary in Sanskrit, which was very good one. And we had discussed in the last one that, look here, if you have a lot of wealth in your account, of course you are very rich, provided you are in a position to access it. That access generally happens if you have a bank account and you know your signature rightly, or you know your password. Similarly, with God's grace, if you're able to recognize your Swarupa, then obviously there is no problem. Otherwise, the jnana shall not be liberating, it shall be bondage. And therefore, he's saying, so we were saying that when jnana and jnani are not different from each other, how come jnana becomes bondage? And why should we be trapped? In order to explain that, the third sutra has emerged. That is what he's saying. Nanu prakasakam jnanam na atmano vyatiriktam vartate sarvam prakashyam vedyam vastu jatam jnana prakasakam asti tatha chuktam prakasamanam na prathak prakashat sacha prakasa na prithak vimarshad nanyo vimarsha ahamiti swarupad aham swarupa asmi chideka rupaha. We have already discussed this, that this prakasha and vimarsha, the Shiva thing and the Shakti thing, the prakasha and the vimarsha and the jnana and the jnani, all these are an aham idam, all that finally saying aham asmi. These are not separate from each other. They are an integral reality of the whole, which defines our existence. Then how jnana can be bondage? There he mentions that when it happens is, he's saying, Ityadi vatanamsaram jnanam prakasamayam eva. Jnana is definitely prakasamaya, it is illuminating by nature. Tathacha katham asya bandharupatvam iti chet na. And how can it bind us? Knowledge is supposed to liberate. He said, no, don't you have that kind of thing? It can bind you when yataha parameshwara prasadat. We have done that in the last class. I'm just reading this line again. Yataha, when parameshwara prasadat, because of the grace of God. Yadi evam prativijnayata, when you are able to recognize and remember who you are. Then Yadatu Parameshwara Maya Sakti Vasad, when you are not being able to remember, he's giving the alternative possibility. You see, in the Vaishnavas talk about Mahamaya, Yoga Maya. So the same Maya Sakti, sometimes you remember you are studying for an examination, or you have to make a presentation, some slides you have done, some task is still left, and you are giving yourself a short nap of maybe 20 minutes. You must have all experienced this as students. Even now, when you're doing any big assignment, you have a big presentation or a meeting the next day, and you want to give yourself half an hour, you go to sleep. And exactly after half an hour or 35 minutes, somebody wakes you up. That is also Maya, they call it Yoga Maya kind of thing. And then you have the same clouding power that magical power. So you have given yourself rest for exactly 10 minutes or half an hour. You sleep for 4 hours and you miss this whole thing. You miss your flight, you miss your train. Sometimes you have already checked in, you're sitting in the airport, you're supposed to board, you might fall asleep and miss the flight. It has happened to me. Would have happened to you. This is also Maya. Same thing. That's what he's saying. When you don't have that grace, Yadatu Parameshwara Maya Sakti Vasat, when that Maya Sakti becomes active, then what happens? Na evam pratikvijna bhavati. You are not being able to reconnect with your Swarupa. Tadatu, then what happens? Tasya bandha rupatvam. Satagratana, even if you do a lot of yajnas, a lot of punya karmas, there are a lot of sentences. Why should a pure soul like Ram, I mean, he was avatar. There are many. Ahalya had no fault of hers, and she was cursed, and Indra came and cheated her, and why should that happen? Many such stories in the Puranas. So he's saying, look here, when you don't have the grace of God, tasya bandha rupatvam satakratanapi na nivaraitum sakyaha, you cannot prevent it. It will strike you because you are lacking that particular grace of God. Ityaha kaladinam tattvanam aviveko maya. See, there are two things being said here. One is that the commentator is saying something else in addition to what the Sutra says. Sutra says that inability to distinguish who you are from with what you are misidentified, that is Maya. In very simple terms, what is Maya? Inability to segregate yourself, abstract yourself with so many identities in which we are trapped. We become very angry and emotional that this is my nation, this is my clan group, this is my identity, this is my institution, this is my department, right? This is my agency, this is my like, this is my dislike. These things are not who we are. Now, that particular discrimination enables us to return to the self, identify with oneself. But when that doesn't happen because of lack of grace of God, we are trapped. So that aviveka, inability to discriminate, differentiate, is called Maya. But what the commentator says, this Maya or aviveka happens, or you may get out of it with a lot of sadhana, but Ishvara Anugraha is one of the most important themes here. Remember, this is even Vedanti say, Ishvara Prasadat Vedanta Agraha. Even though they do not give too much of importance to the idea of Ishvara, they said, yeah, you have to do Nishkama Karma, you have to do Antakarna Shuddhi and Upasana, any yoga. These are Sahakari Karanas, Karana Kalapa, in order to prepare the body. Like a badminton player also spends a little time in the gym, but he doesn't go to do bodybuilding. He's going to sort of tone up his muscles so that he's more agile, more dynamic in the court. Similarly, the Vedanti primarily is one who would do Vichara. However, he would also do Bhakti and Jnana and all that. And Bhakti is given a lot of importance in Kashmiri Saivism, in Ramanuja Vaishnava Vedanta, Vishishta Dvaita, in Dvaita Vedanta, Sakta Vedanta. So Ishvara Anugraha, even in Yoga, Ishvara Pranidhana Tava. So Ishvara Anugraha is given a lot of importance even in Yoga Sutra. So this is very important to keep in mind what the Sutra says and what the commentary says. That these aviveka or viveka, from aviveka to viveka, the travel would require our sadhana, but also blessings of God. That we have to keep in mind. So kaladinam tattvanam aviveko maya kala nama. And what is that kala? Let's know what it is. He's saying kala nama kinchit kartutva samarthyam. What is the Lord like? He's Sarvakartutva. He can do anything he wants. He's Sarvagya. He can do anything. He's omnipotent. And he becomes Alapagya or Kinchitgya. He knows a little. We will go that way. So these are these 5 Shaktis who get converted into 5 Konchukas or veils. Now, I just want to, before we proceed further, let me quickly sort of go there to mention to you specifically what are these elements. Give me 1 second. So these are like this. You have Chit Shakti, and you have Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and Ananda Shakti is also called Nirvritti. So Chit Shakti, Ananda Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. The Chit Shakti is the source of your Sarvajnatva. That is a Paramashiva. Chit Shakti, Chaitanya, Sarvajna. There is no Vishaya outside of it. It's a full luminous reality. And then Ananda Shakti, Sarvakartatvada, and then Ichha Shakti, Purnata. It's fullness. And Jnana Shakti, Nityata. It's Nitya Jnana. Sarvagya, Jnana Shakti is Sarvagya. And there is Vyapakata also. Chit Shakti is Vyapakata. And then Jnana Shakti is Sarvagyata. Right? And Ichha Shakti is Sarvakartatva. He can do anything he wants. Sorry, Kriya Shakti is Sarvakartatva. So you have all this, and then they are getting very quickly converted. Okay? Whatever was Jnana becomes Vidya. And similarly, whatever was Sarvakartita will become Alpakartita. It can do a little. The Purnata will become Apurnata. Right? So it will become Raga. Whatever earlier Ananda Shakti was there, it will become Raga. It's liking for a particular thing. Similarly, the Ichha, the Kriya, it could do everything. Now it will become Kala, domain specific. Okay? Jnana will become Vidya, specific, again domain specific, limited to a certain domains. Not. And similarly, what is the Chit Shakti, that becomes Niyati. Okay? So this is how everything is getting kind of inverted. To be very brief about it, everything is getting inverted and we are getting trapped. That is what we were looking at. So what he's saying here, Sarvakartata Shakti Sankuchita Katipaya Arthamatra Para. Sarvakartata Shakti, that ability to do whatever you want, is now becoming Sankuchita. It's restricted. Then how does it behave? Katipaya Arthamatra Para. There are certain limited domains. Somebody may be good at cricket, somebody may be a big singer, somebody may be a great scholar, but you are not capable of doing anything you want. That's what Paramashiva is. Kinchit kartaram amam kalayanti kityate kalanama. So this kinchit kartaram amam kalayanti, it creates that kala. See, this kala, that particular thing, that particular thing, that Shakti, which was Shakti, has become Maya. It creates somebody who will do a few things, not all. It makes us effective in a few domains, in a few ways. That defines what is humanity. There are domain specific where we can show our excellence, we can achieve anything, not all. Then he's saying, Evamcha, and then Kartutva Pradayaka Prithvi Tattva Paryanta Padarthana. So you have these 36 tattvas. You have these Suddha tattvas, and then you have these Asuddha tattvas. So at the Pancha Bhutas are there at the bottom, and the fifth one is Prithvi. So tell the bottom one. All the Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, everything will come here. So at the bottom one, then what he's saying, Mana Buddhi Chitta Ahankara, everything will come there. So finally the Prithvi Tattva, what he's saying, Amam Kalayanti, he's saying, Kartuta Pradayaka Prithvi Tattva Paryanta Padarthanam Arthat Kanchuka. What is that Kanchuka? It's a veil. Kanchuka can also mean a blouse or a dress for a woman. He's saying, Puryashtaka Stula Saridataya Vidyamananam Yo Ayam Avivekaha. So what is Puryashtaka? First I need to explain to you. Navadvare Puri Dehi. You have read that in Bhagavad Gita. Here the Puri Ashtaka, eightfold domain in which we exist, refers to the Sukshma Sarira in Tantra and the Saiva Darshana. Puri Ashtaka. Why is it called Puri Ashtaka? Because you have these Pancha Tanamatras. You know that the Manomaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and the Pranamaya Kosha, these are all made out of the Sukshma Tanamatras. The Annamaya Kosha is made out of the Panchakrita Panchabhutas. So it has physical appearance. Pranamaya Kosha is effective. We can see its action, but we cannot see the pranas. So they are all out of the Sukshma Panchabhutas called Tanmatras, Sukshma Bhutas. So these Pancha Tanmatras plus, out of which all this is made, the Buddhi and Mana, Buddhi and Ahankara. So all kinds of desires, this, that, and Buddhi is, you have this deliberative mind, the wishing emotional mind, the deliberative judging analytical mind, and Ahankara, the identification of this, some kind of identity consciousness. These eightfold whole is what they call Shukshma Sarira. That's what they call Puriyashtaka. In Shukshma Sarira Vedanta, we count all 17 elements. Okay, so we'd have Pancha Jnana Indriyas, Pancha Karma Indriyas, Pancha Pranas, then Mana and Buddhi. Then we call it, some people say Mana Buddhi, Chitta Mana Buddhi Ahankara. If add it will become 19. That is what is Shukshma Sarira. When this Thula Sarira falls, that means when we die, we are reported as dead, the Sukshma Sarira travels. That is how it is explained in the traditional Vedantic explanations. Here he is saying Puriyashtaka Sthula Sarira Theya. So you have the Sukshma Sarira, and you have the Sthula Sarira, is made of the Annamaya Kosha, the Panchabhutas. Now, Vidyamanam Yo Ayam Avivekaha. We suddenly start identifying with our mind, with our ego, with our wisdom or our analytical self, our physical frame. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm old, I'm hungry, I'm rich, I'm poor, all that. Avivekaha Paramartha Tattva Surupasya Aprathana Swabhavaha. Now, our Paramartha Swarupa is that Parama Shiva Swarupa. Aprathana Swarupa means it's in the inability to expand and realize its Swarupa. That is what is that limitedness. Limitedness is nothing real. Inability to fructify, inability to express your luminosity, which is your Swarupa, that itself, it's kind of going in circles. Vivechana Abhava iti. And what is that? Again, you would ask, why we cannot expand? He's saying no. It's basically, if you trace it, you will be able to find that it is essentially abhiveka, inability to distinguish. What do you mean by expand the self? You reduce your ignorance. And why ignorance is expanding? Because of aviveka, inability to segregate, abstract, and see yourself from the details, which are false, delusional, and we have taken them too seriously about us. Vivechana bhava iti va prithak rupena abhimananam api. And then actually this mind, this body, your age, your color and all that, then aprithak avyatiriktaya pratipattihi. Actually these are adjectives we are adding to who we are. But then we get so mixed up. Like a drunken person is sitting with his own siblings, he's drinking, and he gets into a violent mode of behavior. He forgets whom he's talking to. What is this kind of a mixture which happens in the consciousness? Similarly, we are not being able to have that viveka saying, look, this is my Swarupa, these are the details. This is how I appear. This is who am I, and this is how I behave and appear, but I'm different from all this. Sa maya paramatattvasya ajnana rupaha prapancha. That is called Maya, and then he's adding two more words to make it look very complex, but to make it the good explanation of why we are trapped in samsara. He's saying, look here, end of the day, it's aviveka. That is actually Maya, a faulty understanding, and that is essentially ajnana rupa. That means the inability to have appropriate understanding, and it's a result of that jnana. What we see is this samsara. This whole, it's like a cascade of images around us in which we are trapped. This samsara is born out of that ignorance, which is born out of aviveka. Then he's saying, Tathacha aha tantra sadabhave, in that famous Kalodvalita Chaitanyo Vidya Darshita Gocharaha Ragena Ranjitatmasau Buddhyadi Karani Yutaha. Remember this Chaitanya, which is actually Shuddha, Vishuddha, it's pure. No name and form, no adjectives, no entrapments, no desires, no likings, dislikings, nothing. It's pure and it's omnipresent. That particular Chaitanya, Vidyadi Darshita Gocharaha, the moment it's affected by this Kala and Aviveka, then you see there is this we had already discussed in the last class why Pratyaya Udbhava happens. You are in a deep state of meditation, there is a minor sound, and then there is a series of associations, and you are tracing that sound, and you remember, and so many things, so many images emerge in your mind. Meditation is gone. There is a new world which is created in your consciousness based on past sanskaras and some apprehensions regarding why the sound came, regarding what way from it came. Everything is like spilling the beans. It's like suddenly you are having a fistful of mustard seeds, as they say in the yoga, and you spill it, falls from your hand. You can't recollect them quickly. That's what happens. So he's saying what he's saying, Vidya Darshita Gocharaha Ragena Ranjitatma. So, and then this raga, you have these inclinations. Subhasava Karma Vasana will also appear. Once Bhinna Veda, Bhinna Pratha appears in your mind, then dualities, and this is good, this is bad. And then why not have that? Why not go and have it? The student who is very good, little boys, you'll find there are two brothers or two siblings sitting, and then the sister is a good one. She's very good, she's very intelligent, focused on her homework. The brother disturbs her just for fractions of a second. And suddenly she wants to correct the brother and goes and finds that he's playing with some doll, and she joins him, and then they both are playing. She forgot that she had a class test the next day, and the mom comes and shouts at her. Then she doesn't know how to explain. He said, no, I was trying to discipline the brother, but he said, no, you're not disciplining, you're playing with him. Then she realized it's a mistake. It happens with all of us. That is saying, buddhyadi karani yutaha. Then once this whole Atma, which is pure and luminous, and then it identifies with the buddhi and all the jnanendriyas and the karmendriyas, all these things, appendages to the pure consciousness, then we become a whole with these details. A man with a qualification, with some desires, some likings, some family, and this and that. That they exist is not a problem. That we identify and we forget who we are are not having a clue to our purity, that is a problem. Otherwise, this is not an issue. Then he's saying, Yad Uktam Paramartha Sare, there's another book's name Maya Parigraha Vashad Bodha Malinaha Puman Pasur Bhavati. Maya Parigraha Vashad. As a result of the influence of this Maya, because you submit to it and it works on us, Bodha, this jnana, that actually that pure Bodha that you're supposed to have about yourself, Malinaha Puman, and then with that kind of an imperfect, clouded understanding, the Pumana is kind of he's kind of muddied by that consciousness, tempered, influenced. With that consciousness, this person who has the potential to become Paramashiva becomes a Pashu. He becomes a person with low-level inclinations to get trapped. Now, this is Navaratri Samay, and this is a very auspicious time to do sadhana and meditation. And those of you who are observing anything, you would find that you find a kind of lightness about the consciousness because we observe certain rules. And then Navaratra gone and you start eating whatever you want. And then you do whatever you want because you're having no brata or nothing. So those who do penitence, when the Muslims do their Ramchan, so they all get into a certain regime of being attentive to how their consciousness is functioning. That is the greatest brata, what else? And he's saying, Evam mayatmako bandha proktaha tasya daratmakaha. And that bondage, jnanam bandha, is saying mayatmaka, it's not real. If it's real, there is no freedom. no moksha. Aninu moksha prasanga, that would be the line mentioned by Bhagavad Pujyavada again and again. What he's saying, Mayatmako bandha proktaha tasya daratmakaha bhayatmakaha. It's very frightening. And then what? Tat asraya guno dharmo dharmasyaiva samasada. And once you have that ajnana aviveka, that maya is trigunatmika maya, sattva, rajas and tamas. And through the interplay of these three gunas, sometimes you are a dharmika, sometimes you are a adharmika. When you are sattvika, you are interested in doing dharmika karma. And when the mind doesn't go, it thinks about a lot of things. We have loads and loads of sanskaras in us. The most saintly person, in the best of his spiritual moods, can get transformed into a devil if these old sanskaras are allowed to interfere and overtake his purity. Therefore, there's a beautiful sentence from Lord Byron in a famous poem he wrote called Noble Corsair, where he writes, "Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty." We have to be constantly aware, otherwise whatever you have. But Bhagavan gives you another clue. He says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam, you surrender to me, do everything for me. So that's kind of a spiritual insurance policy that you buy. You have that Ishvara Anugraha. But remember, at the level of sadhana, one has to be constantly aware. God will come 2 steps, we go 1 step. So 1 step we have to do. And that is what he's saying. Samasataha. Tatraso sangsitaha pasya pasitas teistu tishtati. And then once we are sort of clouded in that platform of Maya, and the whole game which engulfs us, we become pasya. We are subject to, vulnerable to that bondage. And then we become bonded. Pasitaha, teitu, by these 3 gunas, sattva, tamas, and rajas, and they bind us up. And this pancha kanchukas, the game unfolds. We become a victim watching this, as if that's real. All that it takes is a moment of self-awareness with God's grace that we slowly withdraw from this, and that will be the verse number 4. How to start our sadhana in this kind of a condition. Kinchid kartutva lakshanena kalatatvena apurnatam upanatam chaitanyam. That, see, there are 2 aspects to the Pashubhava as opposed to the Shiva Bhava. Apurna manyata swatyantriya hani. These are 2 things. Loss of sovereignty and apurna manyata. And sometimes you are not even having the ability to remember your swatyantriya. Therefore, he's saying, kinchit kartutva lakshanena, that you are, okay, I'm able to do this. I'm able to support my children. I'm supposed to support my family. I'm happy to support my students. You have a few things going your way, and then you accept it. You're happy with it. So, lakshanena kalatatvena apurnatam upanatam chaitanyam. That chaitanya which was purna has become apurna, which was aklishta has become klishta. Then what happens? Sarva kartutva lakshanam yasya saha. That chaitanya which was sarva kartutva will slowly become kinchit karta. Alpa jnanatmakena vidya tatvena. That sarva jnatva. That jnana sakti will be what? Vidya tatvena. Darshitaha kamaniyataya pramaye bhumikam nita. Then you have that bheda, that maya mala will create that duality in you, and you will get attracted to samsara. How that happens? What otherwise you will not be interested in. You have so many scamsters cheating people every day on phones, and you must have received a few phone calls. Why people get trapped? Either because of fear, lack of consciousness, sometimes temptation, sometimes greed. They are knowing these are the human weaknesses, and we are going to trap this guy, either making him fearful or hopeful or greedy. So they'll play on one of your weaknesses. And that is the biggest Maya Tattva right now. Kali Yuga, this Maya is the biggest scamster actually. We are talking about these cyber scamsters, but the real scamster is Maya. What it does, it presents things around you, kamaniyataya, very attractive, sobhanadhyasa. It's beautiful. Why not have it? Why not try that? So you have that Subha Suva, that karma mala starts working. You have karma vasana. This is Shubha karma, this is Ashubha karma. I should not do it, I should do that. Then you get trapped, sucked into sansara. So kamaniyataya prameya bhumikam nita. So you will say, I'm a knower of this particular thing, it's useful, and then you want to have it. Nita gochara indriyarthaha. So what are the gochara? Gochara is vishaya. So whatever your indriyas become active, and then you want to connect with them, and they are the objects of your sense perception. Then ragatatvena visheshu savilasa krita jivatmanaha pasho parimita ahantatma mayamala swarupa bandha. First thing is ragatattva. He's telling you the details, how we get bonded, how we get trapped in the sansara. The raga thing, which was ananda, self-fulfilling, self-sufficient, becomes raga. There is craving. There is feeling of absence of something. That is what creates restlessness and anxiety and frustration, loneliness. He's saying, ragatatvena visheshu savilasa krita. Then you want to have. You connect that desire. I want to have it. And then what happens? Visheshu savilasa krita jivatmanaha. When you become that kind of a jivatma, pasho, that is a pasu. Parimita ahantatma mayamala swarupa. Parimita, what is that bandha? Parimita jnana swarupa. Limited understanding, not a perfect understanding of who we are. That is saying that itself, what happens? Bandha, maya bandhashraya. And this particular bandha, that jnana that you are having, is actually ashrita in that maya mala, the duality, diversity, which appear as real. Subhasuva karma vasana swabhavaha. What is its nature? It will move towards, in Buddhism, I remember there's a beautiful sentence by one of the good Buddhist masters who passed away, Bimala Ramshi or something. He says, what is mental tightness in meditation? What is craving? He was trying to explain. Kamana kya hai? What is craving? He says, craving is, in very simple terms, if you want to define it, it is I like it, I don't like it. It's not that I want to have this pen, I want to go have dinner with this person, I want to buy this picture, I want to buy this painting, or I want to be a great painter. No, that's not craving. Craving starts with a state of restlessness born out of this statement. I like it, I don't like it. Raga dvesha. Bhagavan also tells in Bhagavad Gita, these are two biggest enemies. You got to be very careful. So I like it, I don't like it. That sits at the root of our movement in the sansara. We'll go towards what we like and we'll move good and evil, pleasure and pain. These are the doubles. And we get trapped, starting with this restlessness or craving or tightness. So what happens? You have raga. And then what is the swarupa? You will say, subhasuva karma vasana swabhavaha. I would like to do this. I will not like to do this. Tatreva ubhaya rupe male asau pasu pramata badhyate. And that is how this particular pramata, which was sarvagya, has become a pramata, a limited knower, becomes like an animal and he falls trapped in this particular net. Now he is quoting the verse number 28 from Spanda Karika. It's a beautiful verse in the Prathama Unmesh over there. Aprabriddha dhyastvete swastiti taganodhyataha padayanti duruttare ghore sansara vartmani. What is he trying to say? It's a beautiful thing. Aprabriddha dhyastvete. Not everybody gets trapped. Aprabriddha, the one which is not enlightened, that kind of wisdom is essentially confusion. It's a prejudice. It's an opinion. It's not a wise person and an opinionated person. They're two different people. That's not wisdom. What is wisdom is what leads us towards an awareness of ourselves. Therefore, he's saying, aprabriddha dhyastu ete. These people who are aprapriddhadhiya, that means they are trapped by bandhatmaka jnana. And what happens to them? Swasthiti stagunodyata. Swasthiti, what is his sthiti? Paramashiva tattva. Stagana means achadana udyata. They cover it up. They don't want to know that. They are not interested to expand and feel themselves. Patayanti, what do? They force themselves in this unending cycle of births and deaths in sansara vatmani, sansara rupaka patha. So you are forcing yourself onto the sansara marga. Sansarana marga. Sansara means birth and death again and again. Arthat, Parameshwara Paranugraha Rahitan, because they are devoid of grace of God. Alpa Gyan Swastitehe. And these kind of people who are Alpa Gyans, to them, Swastitehe Chidrupayaha Achadanam Kritva. He is Chidrupa Swarupa, Chaitanya Swarupa, he blindly covers it up. Stupid guy. Then what he does? Samanantam Yat Sthulam Shukshmam Param Dehe Vartate. Whatever exists in you, your subtle self or your gross physical self, then you take interest in your mind, your ahankara, your buddhi, your physical self. All that, you get trapped in it. Teshu Chityadi Sivanta Tattva Rupa Bhagaha Vidyante, where there, in them, all these tattvas are existing from top to bottom. Kalatmaka Bhaganam Karyanam Sangharaha. So now, So I'm going to the next sutra here. Artha Gunadi Spanda Nispandaha Darune Durlanghe Chidrupayaha Achadanam Kritva. He covers himself. Te Gunadi Spanda Nispandaha. Guna, what are these gunas? Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas. And they have their own dynamism. And by that, you are guided. Darune Durlanghe. That is that Daruna Marga. Durlanghe, which you cannot Durtare. You cannot overcome it. You cannot surmount it. Janmadi Prabandha Marge. You choose life and death through Subha Karma or Shubha Karma. Patayanti Yaha Tad Rupam Eva Nirantaram Atmanam Avalokayanti. These Maya Tattva will enable you to only see that aspect of reality, not the Shwarupa. That Aviveka is called Maya. It's a really beautiful explanation. And this is how I would say a few more interesting things before we wind up as to what is this Maya Tattva. You can ask again and again. They say, Vidya Saktir Tirodhanagari Maya Vidapuna. That particular thing which kind of puts up the lamp of self-awareness, that is Maya. Right? And he's saying, Sansarinam Aishwaryasya Atmanaha Prativijnane Vidya Pasubhave Maya. Look, it's very interesting. That Vidya can enlighten you. That Vidya in Maya Rupa can actually push you back into samsara, make you seeing wrong things right. That's how we have already heard the sentence in childhood. Kusanga jataha dosho guna bhavanti. All the bad habits we pick up from wrong association. We think from bad company. It's not about human company. It's about association of the mind. The old sanskaras, wrong ways of doing things. So doing a little punya, we create a condition for doing more punya. Doing a lot of physical exercise, you build your muscles, you can do more gymming. And if you study, you can study more. You meditate, you can meditate more. Similarly, if you do the opposite, you will do the opposite more. Right? Both of these things are very clear. They're very correct about our mind. So what he's trying to say here is, Esha Pramata Mayandaha Sansari Karma Bandhanaha. That kind of a Pramata, which is a limited knower, he's Mayandaha, blinded by Maya, he's Sansari Karma Bandhanaha. He's bounded by his own sense of this is right, that is wrong. Vidyavir Gyapate Ishwarya Chidghano Mukta Uchyate. And then, when he has that sadhana, and he tries to conquer his mind, reconnect with his divinity. He becomes, look here. He's saying, look, he returns. Mukta uchyate. He's liberated. Same thing. Just you do it here and there. Now, what is this viveka and abhiveka? A bit of nomenclatural clarification. Somebody might ask you this question: what is this viveka and abhiveka? There are, like for example, we did Jivana Mukti Viveka is one. Viveka Chudamuni we have already done. Jivana Mukti Viveka is a person. How to do Atma Viveka is essentially vivation, analysis, understanding. So then what is this? There is a word in Yoga Shastra called Viveka Chati. You are doing this whole yogas, purity, in order to do the, in Sankhya, which is the philosophical foundation for Yoga Sutras. There he's saying what, the Purusha is actually not trapped in anything, is luminous. And it is Chaitanya Swarupa. He has no movement. Then it comes in touch with Prakriti, which is Jada Swarupa, but it has movement. They call it Andhapangu Nyaya. The Purusha is like Pangu, but it can see. And the Prakriti is like Andha. It can move, but doesn't have knowledge. Together they create the Sansara. The Sansara is created by Prakriti. Bhoga Apavarga Artham. Bhoga and for Apavarga of the Purusha. So this whole Sansara is created. The Prakriti out of which there is Mahatattva, Manabuddhi, Ahankara, the Panchatanmasras. Then, all the Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, all these 24 tattvas come out. 23 tattvas. On the top there is Prakriti. It's called Moola Prakriti. And then you have Prakriti, Vikriti, these are 7. Prakriti, Vikriti, they are both cause and effect. Effect of Prakriti. And what is cause of the lower order of tattvas. Panchatanmatras, Buddhi Tattva, and Ahankara. These 7 are called both Prakriti and Vikriti. And below that, all the remaining ones. What are the remaining ones? You have already 7. So the 16 remaining ones, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Bhuta, and Manas. So these 16 are called Vikaras or Vikritis. They are modifications. They are not cause of anything. Of course, they will be minor. You can say there are certain other things that are like all the activities that you do and all, you can trace it to them, but they are called Vikaras. Total 25 tattvas. Now, the Purusha gets trapped in them and after some time realizes, oh really, I'm not Ahankara. I'm not this body. Where am I trapped? So when it's able to do this, there is Viveka Khyati, a perfect understanding. It remembers itself. The moment it realizes, it escapes this whole Prakriti. So there are different stories that in Bengal, there are different interesting stories that Parvati will trouble Lord Shiva again and again. And then Lord Shiva will go to Kailas and get into meditation. That's the end of it. He is again in absolute meditation. Then Ma Parvati goes and sits on his lap and doesn't disturb him. So it's like Prakriti Purusha. They see it's a dualistic philosophy. Why? Because they believe in many Purushas. Vedanta believes in one Purusha. Prakriti, Vikriti, they believe are independent of each other, whereas Vedanta believes Prakriti has no real existence, Maya Tattva has no real existence. It's essentially one Adhyasa or superimposition on that Purusha Tattva or that Atma Tattva. It's only one, it's not multiples. We'll not get into details of this, just to tell you what is Viveka and Aviveka here. Now there is a bit of a discussion on, one is that Maya here. It's not actually Jada Rupa. In Kashmiri Saivism, even Vedanta, the Maya is Ajnana Rupa, Jada Rupa. But in the Kashmiri Saivism, in Shakta Vedanta, in the Tantric philosophy, that Maya is not Jada. It is Chaitanyatmika. It's Chinmaya. Because it's essentially Lord Shiva. One aspect of that Shiva Sattva or Chaitanya Rupa is Vimarsha Shakti. Prakasa Shakti, Vimarsha Shakti. It's one consciousness. So it's not Jada. That's one thing. Now, in the Sankhya, what is that Prakriti? You might ask me. This Prakriti is essentially a state of balance of Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas, which is an absolute balance. Then there is Prakriti, that Layavastha. When there is some kind of a disturbance, like Big Bang or something, then Prakriti, the Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas, these three gunas will create this whole sansara. Okay? So, this Prakriti in Vedanta, they distinguish Maya and Avidya. In Kashmiri Saivism, call it Vidya and Maya, they're saying. They call it Maya and Avidya in a way. And what do we mean by this Maya and Avidya? The Suddha Sattva Samparna is Maya. Suddha Sattva Samparna. And the other one is Malila Sattva Samparna is Avidya. So the clouding energy that we have in us, in the jivas, human beings, that is referred to as Avidya. Whereas Ishvara, he has Maya Sakti Samparna, that Maya Sakti is Suddha Sattva Samparna, and therefore that one, which Ishvara, is Suddha Sattva Samparna. That means his Sattva Guna in Ishvara, it's Maya Upadhi Vishishta, but that is what that Maya Sakti over there is no pollution on account of Rajas and Tamas. He is Ishvara. But we are predominantly influenced by Rajas and Tamas, therefore Sattvic energy is there, but it's kind of in an inferior state. It's overburdened by, dominated by, smothered by the interplay of Rajas and Tamas. That is how we are what we are. Malina Sattva Samparna. Okay? And then this Ajnana or Maya Sakti, according to Vedantas, again, they want to make it foolproof in their explanatory device, that they would say that Ajnana is of two kinds. How? They will say the Avarana Sakti and a Vikshepa Sakti. What is Avarana? Avarana is what covers the truth. Okay. Now, this is actually a pencil. It looks like a pen. It's a mechanical pencil. So, that it's a pencil, I don't know. A person who doesn't know about it doesn't know. That Avarana, that covers that truth, that is Avarana Sakti. Then, this pencil is confused as a ball pen. That is Vikshepa Sakti. So Avarana Sakti is what hides the truth from you, and Vikshepa Sakti is what creates Vikalpatmaka Chinta in you. This could be this. One good example I would say, which happens in our lives every day. You're calling your sister or mom or anybody, friend, daughter, you're calling him or her. She or he doesn't pick up the phone and you are anxious about something. Suddenly, you get angry. Look at the Avarana Sakti over there. You actually don't know why she or he couldn't pick up your phone. It's very simple. You couldn't know. And then the Vikshepa Sakti works, and then you presume she is ignoring you. She maybe is in the kitchen. She maybe is eating. She maybe is talking to somebody. So you're trying to give a vent to your vasanas, your sanskaras, and you create a story around this particular event. That is what is done by Vikshepa Sakti. The sansara, they say, even if you know what is Atma, the sansara will not vanish. Because Vedantis would say the Vikshepa Sakti will continue to do some game of its own. Like we are in a dream, we see a tiger is chasing us. Then what happens is we wake up. There's no tiger, but you have heartbeat and you are breathing heavily. You still, experience feelings of fear and anxiety. But the cause of all this, that there is a tiger in your bedroom, that is not there anymore. Avarana Sakti is gone. You know there is no tiger, you are in your room, you are safe. You know this. Vikshepa Sakti is creating some problems. So in sadhana, sometimes you have done the spade work, you have removed the cause of your agony, and yet agony may subsist. We have to understand it. Vikshepa Sakti. Okay? And then there are a lot of this whole thing, that why this whole sansara is created. This Chaitanya is what we go beyond Maya according to Vedanta. But actually in the Sakta Padhati, We don't actually try to transcend it in that sense. We play with it. We try to understand this whole mechanics of how it works. What is the key distinction between Advaita Vedanta and Kashmiri Saivism to my mind is that on the path of sadhana, Kashmiri Saivism gives us a lot of details regarding how actually our mind works and how we experience the entrapment and what are the ways out of it. And it's more of experience, more of sadhana and upalabdhi than intellectual discussion. This Pandakarika and Siva Sutra, of course, is giving you, but as you move into it, this book is not just about concepts, it's actually about sadhana. So with this, we have kind of done the verse number 3, and we'll go to the verse number 4. Tomorrow, we have satsang tomorrow, so we'll do it, and you'll see how we are transiting from an understanding of what causes imperfection and pain and misery in us to how to move out of it. With this, I'm stopping here. Any questions? We have a couple of minutes, or we'll do the Santi Mantras. Okay, so we'll do the Santi Mantras. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. God bless all of you. Meet again tomorrow.